yesterday, technically. We'll start with the weekend in terms of what took place. Well, first things first, the big announcement, the big news, of course, was that being the invite announcements for the Boston Major coming up here for the competitive Dota 2 scene, and to say the least, as you would expect with something like this, there's a bit of controversy in terms of whether or not they got the teams right or whatever it may be. But kind of just quickly recapping in terms of what the teams were. The actual 8 direct invites were Wings Gaming. We had DC, Evil Geniuses, Newbie, eHome, Execration, OG, and of course MVP Phoenix. Now, honestly, 7 of 8 of those teams, I think there's very good argument for. I think there's really not a lot of debate to be had. I mean, it was going to be a tough decision no matter what. Whether or not you believe Valve got this right with the invites, it's completely up to you. And maybe you can get a poll for that later on to kind of get your judgment on that. Me personally, though, I really think 7 of 8 of these, they're more than fine, they're more than acceptable, and they frankly make sense. So I know that this is not an easy process, especially going into a new season of competitive scene with roster changes happening and everything. It's not going to be an easy process. So there's perhaps debate to be had on whether or not even more than that didn't deserve it. But I personally think 7 of these 8 teams again were hands down. It makes a lot of sense. Now, so you're saying to yourself, well, 7 of 8, what's that one team? I think it's going to be an obvious one, and that a lot of people have kind of brought up right here. The daily breakdown, I like that. We'll keep it at that. The daily breakdown. MVP Phoenix is the one team that no doubt has kind of drawn a little bit of controversy, and I think for very, very good reason. How they chose MVP Phoenix over some other teams right here, I frankly am not too certain about. Yes, they had obviously a very strong performance at TI6. Yes, they are from Korea, which perhaps you could argue is probably the ultimate influence as to why they were chosen, frankly. I would not be surprised if that's why Valve decided to go with them in the end and to make sure that they had a Korean team here in this event. They want to really capitalize on the Korean market. I think that perhaps had a lot of weight in terms of determining MVP Phoenix, frankly. But if you look at the stats, if you look at what they've done lately, they finished 7th and 8th place at the MDL, a.k.a. pretty much last place at the MDL. That land that I, of course, covered with PPD and Grant at the EG Team House. We had a lot of fun there. But, yeah, they didn't look too good. On top of that, they finished 7th, 8th in the Summit 6 Southeast Asian qualifiers. We're talking about a qualifier, an online qualifier event for just the Southeast Asian region. They only managed to get 7th and 8th place in that, thus getting nothing out of it. These are the most recent events that have taken place. Of course, this is on top of only 2 of the 5 players of their TI6 roster remaining on the current roster. So how MVP Phoenix got the invite, again, in terms of the quality of content that they're bringing to the table, in terms of being this team that proved that they deserve this spot, I don't think that's the case. I think it had a lot to do with the fact that they are a Korean team. They're a strong brand name, frankly, and thus Valve decided it makes a lot of sense to kind of bring them to the table and try to at least get that Korean fan base, make sure that we have that team that could be there, that the Koreans can actually be excited to see at the event. So it's a little bit unfortunate, honestly, but I get why Valve may have chosen it, especially if that is the reason. But when it comes to actually deserving it, I do not think they deserved it whatsoever. I think there's argument to be made for many, many different teams, including plenty of the Chinese teams here, from CDEC to Invictus Gaming to IG Vitality, LGD teams, of course. I mean, all of those teams you can make arguments that deserved it over MVP Phoenix. On top of that, you got even Southeast Asian region, teams like Faceless, who made a splash here recently, qualifying for the Summit 6. A newer team, sure, but a team that would have been fun to see with some fun players on them. I believe Ice and Black, of course, noticeable players on that. You got, of course, Fnatic on top of that, another team that I think you could have argued deserved it over MVP Phoenix. But outside of that, I do think Valve got it correct personally with at least the other 7 teams. Again, a very difficult decision, no doubt, but a decision that had to be made. So this is what we're looking at with the direct invites, as well as the regional qualifiers and the teams in that. So that's going to be a lot of fun. The regional qualifiers actually take place later on in the week here, and excited to see how that turns out. Now, with that said, the open qualifiers, of course, wrapped up yesterday. But before we get to that, I want to go over a couple more things that happened during the weekend right here. So I'll pull up These websites that I have open currently. So another event that's actually taking place currently is the Dota Pit qualifiers, actually. The Dota Pit Season 5 is actually going to be coming up, and they're running some qualifiers currently for it. Both the European region as well as the CIS region actually had their qualifiers take place. Now, starting with the European region, they actually are going to have two different qualifiers there. They had one of them currently play, and you have the teams Team Secret, Ad Phenom, Team Liquid, and Flipside Tactics. In the end, as you can see here, Team Secret did defeat Flipside 3-1. This took place on the 22nd. That would have been Saturday, I believe. Look at that. Flipside actually won the first match, but obviously the next three then went in favor of Team Secret. And I think that's big for Secret, especially with the drama that they've kind of been going through, specifically Puppy, as of late. No doubt that must have at least felt good for them to be like, okay, drama's happening. Let's just focus on our game, and thus they qualified for the event right here. So they're going to be going to Dota Pit. So obviously, big congratulations to them. The other European qualifiers, actually, I believe, I don't think it doesn't start today. But the other qualifiers for the Dota Pit League actually or Dota Pit Season 5, they start in the month of November, it looks like. So, but another Dota Pit qualifier that took place was the CIS qualifiers. That is wrapping up. In fact, today the matches, or it was initially scheduled later today. Maybe it's going to be changed now because of other conflicting events. But as you can see here, Virtus Pro and Team Empire are set to play. Both of those teams defeating Na'Vi to get to this point. Virtus Pro knocking them out in the winter bracket finals, and then Team Empire winning the rematch against them 2-1 to ultimately knock out Natus Vincere, a.k.a. Na'Vi here. So it will be VP versus Empire in a best of 5 to determine which of the CIS region teams are going to be going to Dota Pit Season 5. So that's another event that took place over the weekends. And then one more that I was able to find information on was a WESG, the America Finals. The America Finals for this, of course, not nearly as prestigious as the European WESG event that took place for those qualifiers and those finals even, for good reason. Now, as you see this note right here, of course, there was an issue with the Brazilian embassies and some problems and strikes that are going on lately, some government issues that actually caused teams from both USA and Canada not able to participate, including Team NP from Canada, which no doubt would have been one of, if not the favorite here at this event. So it kind of took a bit away, to say the least, from the event. In the end, however, Infamous defeated King Out +4 to ultimately move on to the main event here. They came from Peru, as you can see here, Infamous and their roster. So those are kind of events that took place over the weekend here as kind of a recap from the Dota 2 competitive scene. As far as yesterday, obviously the open qualifiers took place. I myself ended up casting, I believe, 7 different games in total, all of them from the European qualifiers. So going over that real quickly. Now, sure enough, I actually did not end up casting the finals because it ended up going so long, and I had other things that I had to do, and frankly, I was just a little bit tired from casting so much. But in the end, Fantastic 5 did defeat Flipside Tactics 2-1 to ultimately claim their spot in the European regional finals now, or European regional qualifiers, I should say, that take place later on this week. So, again, big congratulations for them. I got to say, again, they looked really good. I got the chance to cast them against Evil Corporation earlier on in the day. Of course, Evil Corp, some former Han players of mine that just got done defeating Kaipi, an impressive result for them. But they ran into Fantastic 5, and at that point, I was even making the comments, this is a team that arguably is going to win this event. And sure enough, later on in the day, they went on to do that. They defeated Team Empire 2-1, and then they went on to defeat Flipside 2-1. To definitely deserve and earn their spot. So the second qualifiers do officially start today. Actually, they're well underway, I believe, and they're in the earlier rounds. Of course, tomorrow is when the later rounds take place, and we'll find out the second team that will be participating in the regional qualifiers as well. Now, this is from the North American region. This is where it got a little bit interesting, to say the least. The North American region had didn't necessarily have a very surprising result. So getting into that, as you see right here, Pro Dota Gaming to earn the spot. They qualified for the North American regional qualifying event as a result of their victory here. They defeated Vegetables E-Club, of course, the team made up of all the casters and everything. Fun to see there from Capitalist to Blitz, I believe, Merlidi, and others. So, fun to see that there. Of course, making the finals in the first place, pretty cool. And if they qualified especially, that would have been pretty awesome. But, hey, they still get another chance with that set, obviously, again, starting later today. But Pro Dota Gaming, now you may be thinking to yourself, wait a second, Pro Dota Gaming, that team's, are they from America? Well, no, they're not. They're actually from Europe, as you can see here, a mix of all throughout Europe, from CIS to Sweden and whatnot. They participated, however, in the North American qualifiers by choice. Now, apparently, there is a little bit of a loophole in the qualifying system that they actually were making a point of via Twitter. I saw a lot of questions about it. They actually participated in it. Apparently, they made point with Valve. They contacted Valve with some representatives, and they were told that they could participate. It's simply up to the teams which of the qualifiers they want to participate in. They do not have to live in the region. There is no restrictions. Nothing more than just simply you have to deal with the ping, as well as you have to deal with the time zone, obviously. So other than those two things, though, you're good to go. If you want to participate in another qualifying event from another region, you are more than able to do that. As a result, they chose to do that. They ended up winning it. They are representing North America Open Qualifier Team number 1, despite being all from the European region. So, to say the least, this has brought up a bit of controversy. It's brought up some debates. And I actually do want to get a poll from you guys here in the near future with another piece of content that I actually plan to do here later on in the week, because I'm really curious what all you think, too. But, I mean, me personally, I get what Pro Dota did right here. I definitely understand why they did this because, frankly, and as they showed here, the North American competitive scene considered to be a little less strong, not nearly as much competition as the European scene, and so they figured they would have an easier time as a result. Well, again, as we saw, winning it all, they ended up doing so. Whether or not this should be allowed, honestly, I went back and forth with this today, really thinking about it, kind of going over what others were saying and kind of just thinking to myself, my ultimate, where I've ultimately come to is that I think it's fine. I think it's fine because of where esports is at in the world. All this online, we're not at a state yet where we can really expect teams to, have these team houses and set locations that, means they represent this specific region or this specific area necessarily. Sure, you could argue, well, what about where they come from? Well, why isn't that the case then for traditional sports? That's not necessarily the case in traditional sports when it comes to global events. There's always the drama, the argument brought up, well, they were born here, but they live here kind of deal. Now, again, in this case, they're not living, nor were they from this region, but I don't think, again, I just don't think esports and especially these online qualifiers, we're in a spot to say, you have to actually be from that region. The restrictions are you have to deal with the latency, you have to deal with the time zones. If teams are willing to go through that, then by all means. And frankly, the fact that they were able to win in North American qualifiers with 100-plus latency on the servers, I think is almost embarrassing to the North American Dota 2 scene. It really is. And that's as shitty as that is to say because, I'm obviously from the North American Dota 2 scene, and I don't want to say that, but it is a little embarrassing. The fact that a team like this, which isn't necessarily this prestigious team, it's not like a team that's, done many great things. I mean, they are a very solid team with very solid players. But, again, we're not talking about some A-tier team by any means. The fact that they were able to win the qualifiers definitely says something about the North America Dota 2 scene. Now, I hope that, obviously, as, whoa, Strawberry Cakes! Welcome to the CB Cowboys. You're awesome. You're fucking awesome. Don't let anyone else tell you differently, goddammit. Thank you so much, Strawberry Cakes, for the subscription. Really do appreciate it. The fact that they were able to qualify for this event, again, I think says something about the scene, and hopefully that kind of raises some eyebrows and maybe gets the North American scene, lights a fire into their ass, you could say. So, that would be nice to see. But anyways, big congratulations to Pro Dota Gaming, I believe. Yeah, Pro Dota Gaming here on qualifying, despite being a European team, qualifying for the North American region. That pretty much, though, wraps up what happened, the Breaky breakdown, whatever we're calling it. I don't even know what we're calling it here. One more thing, actually. Fnatic, actually, was announced as the first official invite team for the ROG Masters that is going to be coming up here in the near future. So The ROG Masters tournament. I'm trying to find information. Yeah, it's coming up in November here. Fnatic was actually announced as one of the official direct invite teams. There's going to be one more, it looks like. But so obviously, congratulations to Fnatic. Looking forward to seeing how they are able to perform at that event right there. So what do we got? Different guy one. Welcome back to the CB Kappas. You're awesome. You're fucking awesome. Don't let anyone tell you differently. God damn it. Thank you so much. All right, so but that pretty much wraps up this segment here for the recapping over not only this yesterday, but of course the weekend as well, due to where we're at here being a Tuesday now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, and hopefully you guys got some good information there. As I also like to do this just simply to inform myself, obviously being involved now in the Dota 2 scene. So thank you guys. All right.